We will.
Remember, we don't want to know who you are. We just want your information. Crime Stoppers. It's safe and it works.
I'm Samantha John.
I am Nadia Batson.
The incredible Myron B.
I'm K.I. Chucky Gordon.
Hi, my name is Sheriff.
And we are Freetown.
And I'm urging each and every citizen of our beautiful country.
It's time for us to put a stop to crime and violence in Trinidad and Tobago once and for all.
In Freetown, we believe that every citizen has the right to life.
We need to be responsible not only for ourselves but for others as well.
I think the only way to counteract any kind of fear is to inject love.
We have the power to stand up, to unite, to stay positive, and to win back our country. Build a culture of lawfulness, peace, respect, love, harmony.
The Citizen Security Program.
Stop the violence and abuse.
Stop the violence and abuse.
Stay calm.
Stay calm. Stay calm.
Stay calm and start thinking.
Start thinking.
And start thinking.
A message from the Citizen Security Program. Stop the violence and abuse. Stay calm and start thinking.
No, I'm not ready for that.
Stop. Stay calm. Start thinking.
Okay? Cool.
Later.
A message from the Ministry of National Security's Citizen Security Program.
One bite. I want to play.
Oh, you can do that, boy. Oh, you can do that, boy.
Stop the violence and abuse. Stay calm. Start thinking. The Ministry of National Security's Citizen Security Program.
Alright, so today we're talking about the sexual offences, and we know it's an issue for us here in Tobago. Could you, based on your experience, give us an idea of what are the offences that will be considered to be a breach of the Sexual Offences Act?
Well, the law pertaining to this area of sexual assault is constantly being revised, upgraded, and I would say amended. And recently it went through some, what I would say are major amendments. But basically what comes out of the law is that one commits a grievous sexual assault on another, and that term encompasses almost every indecent or suggestive action a person may have on another person. Now, remember, it's not only man to woman. The law has broadened it, that it's man to man, man to boy, woman to girl or boy. So it seeks to catch within it as many variations of an indecent sexual act being performed by one person on the other. Against his will, but against his will only comes in if the person is over 18. Remember that if they're under 18, under another new act, which is the Children's Act, recently, I don't know if it's recently amended or recently passed, I think it's recently amended, a child is now a person who is under 18 years of age. So that whereas before, the law was that the law had segmented the offenses depending on if you committed it on a girl by 14 years and under, and there was 16 and under. And if you get away from that 16, you're home free.
Yes.
Because the offense was not committed if the person was over 16.
Right.
Now, and the world needs to hear of it, Tobago needs to hear of it, or young men need to hear of it, that under 18, any act sexually or suggestive you feel, you sometimes you just have to, you may not even touch, and it could be considered suggestive. So you have to know now that the law requires you to be very proper, very careful when you deal with other persons, lest you be deemed to have committed an offense under the Sexual Assault, Sexual Offences Act, or under the Children's Act. So to summarize, rape is still there, but rape is now, the term is so much broader that they more speak in terms of sexual penetration, sexual assault, grievous sexual assault. But at the heart of it is still rape, having sexual intercourse with but that would be an adult against their will. In relation to the children, they would be attracted under the under 18 philosophy.
So
that's right. So if you've got to know that, in other words, you don't mess with women anymore.
You know, I was so happy, I would say, to hear this. In fact, when I heard that the act was proclaimed, and I heard the child is now until the age of 18 provision. Oh, I celebrated. I went home immediately and told my children, you know, I have a daughter. I said, no, you are protected. You are up to 18, so you also need to know. And there's a responsibility that goes with that, both for males and females. Because, you know, sometimes, especially now, the females tend to lure the males sometimes. And that's an important consideration.
That is one of the things that concern me most about this whole sexual offences, because I've also had experience with cases where women, at least particularly young girls, I wonder where they get that from, would falsely accuse men.
That's right.
And I mean, most of the time I'm defending men. I don't like to do it too much, but when I do, that's my role, because when a case gets to court, it's because the state has taken up mainly the woman's
case, right.
And yes, I feel particular that some may have acted untoward, but there are others, and they come out patently clear, because it comes out in the evidence, it comes out in the fact that some of them don't bother to come to court. And it pains me when I realize that this was a false accusation. It's terribly wrong. I mean, and to the extent that I could encourage women and young girls not to do it, because the law is showing a sort of weakness or a sort of disposition toward women, right? And you can't take advantage of that by accusing men wrongfully and falsely, because the penalties are great. It damages a person's life forever. I'm saying, if it is the truth, prosecute your case to the hilt. I don't think anybody should be spared. But certainly, if it is not the truth, it is virtually, it's a sin. It is a sin if it's not the truth. And we have to urge our young girls, if they know they're engaged in that, don't do it. Don't do it.
And I think that's an important plea, you know, and message to send out there, because considering what we would now term the prevalence of, and I'd want to ask you how really prevalent, what's the truth of the situation regarding the sexual offences that we need to be mindful of?
It is prevalent. It's prevalent, it's disturbing, it's of course a concern. I sit in the court, I'm not there whole day, every day for all the hours. But the times that I'm there, I see one after the other coming before the magistrate. Offences or persons accused of offences, and it's mainly against under 18. It's really disturbing. I really want to make an appeal again. I'm making several appeals, but to all men to heed the law, take the law seriously, because I think sometimes they don't appreciate the full range of how this thing could pick you up as a young man. Because when you're charged, that charge, you have to be in the court coming and you're exposed to the fact that you could miss a date, and that is its own complications. But there you are coming for virtually 2 to 3 years before the matter is even heard in the magistrate's court.
Right.
And that's not the end of it. You can be discharged, and if you are, thank God, you can go your way and live your life and go towards all your dreams, etc. But if you are committed, you now have another slice of your life being chipped away, because you have the record of the church basically is you're committed today. That means you're ordered to stand trial before a judge and jury, because you ought to know, all men ought to know, that this is a serious matter that is not tried to the full in a magistrate.
So it goes to the High Court.
To the High Court, to a judge with a jury. All right. So from the date they commit you to go to the High Court to the date it actually comes up in the High Court is easily 5, 6, 7 years.
Wow.
So
you're talking about at least 10 years of your life.
That's correct. And I don't think, if I keep wondering if a person appreciated this before.
I don't think so either, you know.
Correct, I don't think so. And of course, that is only to when it's heard. What if it's heard
and then you're convicted?
From guilty. So to me, it's not worth it at all. I don't know what it is that drives men to have to do it. Those who do, and I'm saying it's not everybody, thank God. It's not. The majority of men try to live decent life.
Right.
But those who do it, I always wonder if they appreciate what the full consequences
You know, my next question was going to be, you know, what is the most critical provisions under the law? But I think the story you're now telling me is probably the worst thing.
Yeah, that's the worst thing for sure. After that, I would think, let me give you some of them, of course. Some would be that many men today would have been living under the old thing about 14 to 16.
Right.
So I don't think the whole of Trinidad and Tobago is yet aware that the law has made this radical change that makes it 18. There is a provision that sort of protects. I don't want to say too much because I don't want people to feel that they could shelter on it.
Right.
But the law seems to be saying that, look, when you have children 15, 16, 17, say the boy and the girl are in approximate age group, they feel that they are curious, they would want to experiment. They call it the Romeo clause, Romeo and Juliet, the young lovers kind of thing, young, tragic look. They just feel they have this love for each other. So there is a sort of reprieve for a person who commits the offense.
But that is at the discretion of the magistrate, or is it something you can?
No, it's in the law, but there are certain requirements to fulfill that, or to bring yourself within the law, one of which is the age group must be right. The other provision that is necessary to remember is what constitutes the offense. Well, we have heard of penetration, but the thing about it is the law is the slightest penetration. The slightest is the offense. Of course, you know, there's also rape between husband and wife, and that is also under the Sexual Offences Act. It's also worthy of note. Husbands must understand that not because you're married to a woman, that means you can ravage her or force her. I mean, it's true, many women don't like to make reports of that, but there is that on the statute books, and it could catch you one day if you're not careful.
Okay. All right, so finally, Is the law serving enough as a deterrent, or are there other things as a society we need to do to address this prevalent situation, as you said?
Well, I think there is more. The law by itself, I think, has tried its best. But to me, there are other support things that need to be in place. We have to find a way to make the magistrates' court or the courts less frightening to a young person, because many times parents and the children are reluctant to continue. They come, they make the report, and they don't know what is involved.
Yeah.
And when they come to court and they see this setup, true, the court has now been cleared of all members of the public, which is good. So the public not there. But even the courtroom as it stands, and the police officers, and the formality and the rigid way, I think tend to make parents reluctant to put their children through that, and children feel a little frightened. And many times when they're afraid, they may not give the best evidence, and everything goes to naught.
Well, firstly too, I would want to advise women, victims in sexual offenses, firstly, they have to protect themselves. We still see women standing at the side of the road 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, boy.
And I know sometimes in some cases, because of the job that they do, they have to commute. I'm saying if you have to do so, firstly, put on comfortable shoes in the event that you have to make a quick getaway.
Okay.
If you enter a taxi, we advise persons to text the number of the vehicle you enter to somebody. So they would know. If you are leaving to go anywhere, let somebody know your destination and your estimated time of returning. On the island in Tobago, there we know there are night spots, there are tourists coming in. We are saying generally, if you have to go out with a date, somebody you just meet for the first time, let somebody know where you're going, let somebody know who you're going with, and the time you're expected to return. If you're in a social event and you meet somebody for the first time, do not leave the security of that social event to go with somebody who you just meet.
Yeah.
Do not leave your drinks exposed. If somebody chooses to buy you a drink, offer you a drink, say, okay, I'll go with you to the bar.
Try not to blame yourself. No matter what the circumstances of the sexual abuse of a child, it is never the fault or responsibility of that child. Even if you are aware that there was some degree of collusion, or you feel in hindsight that you wish you had been able to act differently, this does not lessen the absolute truth that it is the duty of adults to care for children and protect them from exploitation. So it goes on, take care of yourself.
There we have it, Atto. We have done it.
Indeed we have.
We have started the conversation about the sexual offenses.
We have seen the reality of the situation.
We have heard the facts about incest, rape, sexual abuse, indecent exposure, and sex with a minor.
We are seeing a way out of this dark cloud.
So where do we go from here?
I think we need to look. In finding the solution, we need to look at our children. We need to be sure that we know where our children are. Not only our children, our nieces, our nephews, our neighbors' children, to ensure that they are in safe spaces.
We need to continue the conversation in our homes, in our workplace, in our schools, on the streets, in our communities, with our friends, with our families, our neighbors.
And in looking, we look for the nearest police station. Please, if you have seen something, you suspect something, please report it so that we can catch these criminals.
You can call 211-999-555-911, but do it today. Make a report. This has been Tobago CSI.